So nice to see you, and so nice to wow, some people I haven't seen in a while. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Ah, it's nice to be on the planet for a long enough time to be able to say I haven't seen you in a long time. And new faces too. Hello, welcome. And people that I know very well and are dear to me, welcome. Thank you for all of you for being here with me. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm visiting my kids in California. I'm in an art studio in case you see some art stuff behind me. We still have some people coming in. So I kind of just like to start off with you welcoming yourself here and settling into your seat and into your body. Releasing whatever wants to go. If anything feels like it's been this moment to be let go of, this is a chance to let whatever wants to go, go. Make sure you're nice and comfortable. And I like to have it on gallery view. You can have it however you like, but I like to be able to see everybody. And if you do have it on gallery view, make sure that you withdraw any outgoing attention and pull it in like the tide. Pull it into yourself so that you are nicely home and located within. Opening up the sensing body, sensing how you're doing. Your mind can be a part of it. It kind of does a little check-in because the sensing body gives information, which the mind will want to interpret, which is fine. And allowing whatever wants to go, go. Just noticing what is taking place inside of you. Noticing is something that is you use with your awareness, but it's also a sensing. You sense as well as notice. And then we bring in allowance. Allowance welcomes everything as it is, welcoming yourself as you are. I have some dogs here, so if you hear some doggy stuff. Yeah, you're fine. Lay down. It's okay. So whatever tools you have in your toolbox in terms of leaning into allowance is what we're going to welcome in firstly. That's always the springboard. Allowance is the space that already always is, that non-dual space that all of us here are attracted to, and what we're learning to open to in whatever way you're able. Everything that is arises within the state of allowance. So whatever is going on in your body, it's arising in this vaster state. Things that are uncomfortable and things that are comfortable. Whatever's going on in your mind, arises in this vaster state. And when it's simply allowed to be, it doesn't need to clamor for attention, right? It's just this piece and another piece and something else arising in the container, the vast container that we are, that all life is arising in. Any thoughts, they bubble up and they disappear. It's just shift of attention to put your awareness on that which always is holding everything and allowing everything. It just simply is. It really truly is. It's not a made up thing. And again, whatever wants to go, allow the breath to help take it out, move it along. In and then out. Out it goes. This is the way that one can actually live, is welcoming. Allowance is a welcoming. It opens the door to welcoming things as they are, you as you are, without you needing to change anything. Change happens and takes place, especially when we allow it to be. And I know all these words are not new. It's an invitation into this, sharing this now moment together. So we can land here and be present. A shared presence and your own individual arising. And if your eyes are open at any time, you can take in the shared presence without leaving yourself. That's the goal. Staying internally located. Unless you're already in a place that you don't need to do that. It's a good practice for a good long time to not be outward leaning. It's all about attention, where your focus is. And the body and the mind are so happy to have some moments of welcoming. That's how inner harmonization takes place. There's a way to come back into inner coherence through allowance. It knows what it's doing. Your whole body mind has a desire to come back to stasis. Yeah, so just taking a few minutes right now to feel into yourself. How are you doing? Without messing with anything, just letting it be. Has a chance to really open up and reveal itself. It's not disturbed by anything that you contain. How's your heart doing? How are your eyeballs doing? We take in a lot with our eyes. They may be tired. They may want a little break, release. How's your nervous system? You can invite the nervous system to relax, and the next hour and a half that we're together is an invitation to relax and let go. So much of what realization is about relaxation. And then allowing compassion to arise, for yourself. A gentleness and compassion for anything that's here that has been waiting to be, to simply be, allowed to be. And this is what self-love is, love allows things to be. Unconditional love doesn't need you to be any different than what you are. Coming back into real time, in this now moment is real time. The body and the mind need to settle. Any outgoing energies and leanings, any anxiety that comes from rushing around and forgetting how to really be present to the moment. So coming back to real time includes yourself as you are. And initially, sometimes one can feel some disturbance, some little movements, flutterings, and so on as things settle. Awakening is not such a complex thing. It's really, honestly, about being here fully without any desire or need or habit of disappearing and being elsewhere. That takes practice, apparently. feeling safe enough to be here, pulling the outward leaning energies in enough to be here. And then being able to be present to whatever is living inside of you, which some of it could be uncomfortable, because part of why we don't want to be here is because we're running from what we contain inside, right? So the habit of running needs to be dried up. And there's always a beauty to stopping, the stopping, running, enough to be here. And running is allowed as an energy signature. You can open to that too. One can open to everything and include it. For a long time, for those who know me and in this group, I've said this maybe before. For a long time, I would include everything that arose in me and say, this too is welcome. This too is part of the whole. It's included in the whole. This too. Everything that just felt like it was disturbing the energies or seemingly taking away from a sense of presence or wholeness. This too is, it's similar to, Nisargadatta saying, I am that, and his teacher telling him, you're everything, everything is that, everything is that. And he went around, I'm just imagining now, but from what I read, he just convinced himself and understood that everything is that, and everything he looked at, I would like to think everything he was feeling, but I don't know about that, how much he was in his body about seeing it that way. I don't know. But for me, one could say everything is that, everything, including uncomfortableness, including feeling separate. Everything is that. And that's the state of that. What is seeing that is allowance, is the understanding that wholeness contains everything. So you as you are, that's why they say you as you are that. And the more that one knows that, of course, things start to relax and settle and reveal themselves more in a peaceful way. It has to be welcomed and seen as that. And that could also be just seen as God or the divine or intelligence. Everything is part of wholeness. Everything is that. That's the fast track way. What sees that and knows it is that. Okay, so today's topic is your inner light. The light of your own being a guidance and orienting towards that which is your inner guidance system. So how many here, you can raise your hand just so I know, how many here already feel in touch and in tune with your inner guidance system to some degree, to a great or vast, array, from some to a big degree, a large degree? Most of you, all of you. Yeah. That's lovely. I don't think that you would be here or on a spiritual path without it, right? How lucky. There's this, I'm not an Osho person, but I really, and nothing against Osho, but there's a Osho Zen deck. Does anyone know that Zen deck, the non-dual deck? It's really a beautiful deck just to get and read and look at the pictures. And there's one that's called Aloneness, I think. And it's this hermit, and he's got this lantern. Oh wait, is that the one? I may be missing. I may be confusing cards. Anyway, we'll forget the deck. So this image that I have of, I have a. So there, yeah. So it's like this hermit, and the spiritual journey is kind of like a hermit card, right? In a way, but the hermit has got a lantern that they're holding. And the lantern is just enough to light up, just as an image, light up your immediate surroundings. So every step you take, you have a light. And then you take another step, and there's the light of your own inner guidance that's guiding you. And surrounding the hermit as an image is all darkness. All darkness. It's a mystery, the mystery of what we're walking into. We don't really know what's ahead fully. We can maybe get a sense here and there, guidance of what we're meant to do. But it's always in the moment, guidance. And that lantern is not lit from the outside in this case, this kind of guidance that I'm speaking about today. It's a lantern that's lit from within. And the more that you trust this inner light that you contain, this guidance, the brighter your lantern becomes. And it's not necessarily, maybe at times, here and there, it does cast a bright light into the future and say, go here, prepare for this, Do you know what I'm saying? Like you get these little intuitives knowing about what's going to come or what to live into, at least. Right? We need some of that too, right? Where to set our sights. But it doesn't always reveal the whole story, because everything's in motion and being created by the step that we're taking in the now. So there's supposed to be this syncing up between this inner knowing of what to do, these little tendrils of go this way, go that way, speak to this person, don't speak to that person. Or like even, you were meant to do this today, but something is holding you back and telling you not to. These little, these nudgings and knowings in the moment, the more you follow them, and the more that you're willing to just trust and play it out and see what happens when I do that, the more that you'll be guided from within rather than taking guidance from without. That's what we've been trained to do. The whole spiritual persona really is about inner guidance. And it doesn't always make sense to the world at large. I'm sure I'm not the only person who, when I was making a shift from being outwardly led, which wasn't fully all the way anyway, and hopefully not for you either, and being internally guided, that that it didn't make sense to everybody in my life. Have you experienced that in your life, that not everybody understands? Yeah. And it's so important to listen to this inner voice. Like, I don't know why I'm not supposed to go and do that, but I just feel very strong. Just you could just feel you're not meant to. And how do you feel that? By the way, it's probably going to be a body sensing / knowing. And that's why tuning into your sensing body is a very important piece and part of the journey. Our body is intelligence itself, and it's in service. The sensing body and the body itself, and even the mind when it's at peace, is meant to be in service to our lives, to living a life of truth. How else would we know? What else is going to know if it's not the sensing body? Does this make sense to anybody? Where would you be getting the intuitive nudgings? How do they come to you? How would they reveal themselves to you? It's usually not in some kind of God loud voice. Maybe for some people, this way, go that way, do not talk to that person. Go over here. And, it's like this kind of like we're meant to be in sync with life as life. Just like an animal is in sync, or anything in nature that is not confused is in sync. We're meant to not be confused in the end. So we use what we have, what's here, what we've been given. And the more that you follow, the more in alignment you get. Doesn't that make sense? It's really not the most revelatory thing that I'm saying. But all the same, it's good to say it and just remind oneself, we really are meant to listen to this inner knowing. And the inner knowing strengthens as we listen. And you become one with it, one with the flow of the river of inner knowing. Just one with it, to where eventually you're just that. You're just this flow of natural functioning, natural, easeful, in alignment functioning. And how do you know when you're not listening so well in the moment? Like, let's say you get off track a tiny bit, is you'll feel uncomfortable. And you might your belly might tighten, like, like a little fist, or your heart might close down a bit and contract. Like if you're not speaking your truth in the moment, let's say, not a kind of truth that is harmful or makes big waves, okay? But just truth, like, you're not yourself, or honoring the moment with what you know to be true. That too. See, it's amazing how far truth wants to function and live in your life. To what depths. And the deeper you go, the more it's not asking and like as if it's some kind of demanding thing, but more like this is the way it works. And that's why they call it the razor's edge at some point. But it's not like the razor's edge is out to get you. It's more like following truth is exactly what you're meant to do. And there's nothing else you'd rather do. And when you start getting out of sync, you feel it. I like to call it being in sync and being out of sync, because that's something that our body minds can really get on board with. And the more in sync you are, the more you're in the natural state. The natural state is one with life. The natural state is, as I say often, and other people have said, is our birthright. So, in this way, what's really cool is that it's completely up to you how much you want to be in sync and how much you're willing to give to it. Because as you know, it could mean that some relationships change and the way that you are in them, or they fall away. You might change the way it is, or it may fall away. Your living situation, just about everything is meant to be in alignment with truth. And when it doesn't feel in alignment, it will feel off, and you will feel off, and truth will be held back in that one spot or in these different places, and it'll wait. And it's not a demanding partner. It'll just wait until you're ready to, in a way that is hopefully compassionate, kind, and as possible, but it will wait for you to get back on board with what is true. Does this make sense? Am I making sense at all to you all? I really like to check in. It likes to reorganize your life. And that's some of the things people are kind of afraid of, but other people, and other places we welcome it, right? But it likes to reorganize your life, and it doesn't mean everything has to be changed. It's just about what's true in terms of, are you able to remain true to yourself within the environment that you are in the relationships that you're in? It's more about you. Are you able to remain true to yourself? And there's something that relaxes when you really begin to live more and more in this way, and the people around you actually can relax. It's actually what in in an equally honest, truthful way. It's a much nicer way to meet people in that place. And actually, in the end, it doesn't seem to cause many waves, and that many, because it's not an aggressive thing. It's an honest thing. So inner truth, it really asks for outer truth on the relative level. It really wants to be in harmony and balanced with life, and I had to learn this, over years and years and years of learning how to just kind of, adjust, keep adjusting. And, and then you get into some new relationships and they need to be, brought up to speed or coming from that place. And it's not always easy because one doesn't want to be hurting people's feelings. There's a way we've learned how to communicate in a way, as a conditioned way, that usually isn't totally sincere, trying to spare one another's feelings. And in the end, there's a missing that happens because there isn't honest communication, or Sort of like this personalities communicating versus honesty. But when you're a lover of truth, as you are, evidently, it's going to work its way into you, through you, into all areas of heart, into your mind, into your organs, your bones, down to your voice. Yeah, voice being in sync with your belly, your voice being in sync with your heart, where you're not misaligned. And you can kind of tell when you get misaligned. You need to be your own, like, teller of truth. Oh, I'm not quite all the way here, and I'm not quite all the way able to be myself. And if you're not, that's okay. Maybe the environment isn't one that is congruent for you. So it's not only about yourself needing to rise to the occasion. It could also be that the environment in the moment isn't one where that is so good for you. I like to bring up a quote of Yogananda's, and he says, "Environment is stronger than will." And I think Yogananda was pretty cool. And I think he was way up there in his realization. He was so up there in his realization that at one point he said, "Gosh, I wish I hadn't become a guru." So anyway, but he said, for him to say that environment is stronger than will, maybe it was still true for him too. Who knows? Who knows? Definitely there are environments that one can be more in sync with oneself than others. It doesn't mean your awakening goes anywhere, your realization. But for yourself, is key. And so be kind and good to yourself in terms of your environment, okay? Environment includes people in your life. It includes the housing. It includes the food you take in. News you take in, anything you're taking in, that's like food, everything that you're of the world, that's what you're nourishing yourself with, right? If you pay attention. So pay attention to your environment. Many of you already are. And you know that this is important. Like if you have a really clean diet and then you're like go off and then you're like you go to a party or something and you eat a little cake, right? That happens. And then you can feel it, right? But your body is mostly good enough that it can absorb that sugar, right? But that's how important environment is, right? How much it can affect one, just in terms of, even just as an example, food. So if you're mostly surrounded by people that you can be yourself with, you feel, and you're in a harmonious and healthy relationship with, and then you go and you have to spend time with a family member or a friend that you still want in your life, which I understand that is somehow is disharmonious, you can absorb that, you can manage it. I see some people smiling. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. It happens, right? But if one goes overboard too much, one loses one's balance. You eat too much sugar, you're going to not feel good. You people who are disorganized or unconscious to themselves, no fault of their own, but just because you're going to feel it. So just be aware of what Yogananda, remember, if you want, his statement, environment stronger than will. Will meaning what you would like, how you wish it could be, rather than how it is. Like you asserting your desire body onto the moment, you know? Of course, eventually personal will gets replaced by divine will, and that's something that one wakes up to inside, that the personal will kind of moves aside, and then that which is divinely led, which lives here already, it starts to lead your life. And that's what being a light onto yourself really leads to, really. It closes the gap of the personal preference leading and the separate self outwardly led leading to an inward internal guided system that is in sync with and one with that, the divine. You can tell when you start to shift, or, you know, from being outwardly led by the collective, the world, you feel like what you've internalized of the human created world as how you're supposed to live your life, what you're supposed to be doing with your life, what kind of orientation you should be having, how you should be behaving with others. You can tell when that shifts and it becomes internal, from divinely led, because it has a very different, I don't know, orientation. It's not so much about what pleases others, you know. Most of us here, there are some young ones, but most of us here are old enough to hopefully be past that of needing to please others to live our lives. That's why you see women in their 60s sometimes desiring just to wear purple every day, and they're like, I'm just going to wear purple. There's a purple lady in Taos. All she does for 20 years is wear purple every day. She's doing what she wants to do. It's a really nice moment when you say, you know what, I'm not going to let the conditioning of the world dictate how I'm going to live my life. Or the ideas of how I'm supposed to be polite and nice make it so that when I go out or to a party or somewhere, I go home and I feel sick to my stomach because I wasn't honoring my own knowing. I didn't speak my truth here or there. When all that starts to dry up and you're no longer operating through that conditioning of being nice girl, nice man, boy, whatever, and living by a greater truth, which tends to be very kind, but in an unconditioned way. No one can even maybe notice the difference. Who knows? Let me check the time. Okay, I'll stop at 11 and open it up to questions. See what else. And then spontaneity and true responding can take place. If you're not living a conditioned life, a life of this is how I'm supposed to be, this is what I'm supposed to say when someone says this, I'm supposed to smile here or there, whatever. This is really following the inner light, really is also is being one with true response, allowing yourself to respond to life, respond to the moment. So when you get those conditionings out of the way, then real response can come through. Spontaneous living can come through. Does this make sense? Spontaneity. So honesty leads to spontaneity. Honesty and learning how to live a life that's really these nudgings and these no leads to you being one with as life, living, life living, the spontaneous, natural state, which lives in you now and permeates you. And it just is less veiled. That's all it is. It's less veiled the more that you let it through by not getting in the way and blocking it. And you become aware of where you're held back here and there. And you practice. And you keep practicing until it's just truly spontaneous. You are comfortable in your own skin, being yourself. And yourself is ultimately that, with a sense of self, I guess, until it's not there. Even that is allowed to be okay, that sense of self, the feeling that you are a person, a separate person, an individual, whatever. You don't have to make it into a big deal. Be all anxious about it, if you still feel it. It's just there until it's not anymore, okay? It relaxes. It's the animal part of you that's confused. It's forgotten its true nature. It's sad, but true. That's what happens, is we forget our true nature. I think that's why we like to be around animals and in nature, right? It's not. But it's not necessarily a mistake. If it's here, it's not fully a mistake. I don't know. Maybe the divine has made a mistake. I don't know. Whatever. The thing is that through this capacity to self-reflect, we've become an object to ourselves, meaning that we feel like we're a separate something by turning ourselves into an object. And as far as we know, animals don't have that self-reflective capacity. I have an incredibly close relationship with my dog. She doesn't seem confused. She can get anxious, but she doesn't seem confused about who she is. But she also doesn't have that seeming capacity to self-reflect and go, I wonder what I'm thinking, I wonder what I'm feeling, which is sort of this consciousness thing that we have that makes us be able to look at ourselves, huh? If we didn't have that we would just be one without any gap. But I don't know, this is what we have. But the nice thing is that we can come back home to ourselves. That I know is true. And being uncomfortable is a something that's in us that's meant to be here to make us just sort of want to keep looking and seeing, why is it that I feel anxious? Why is it I feel uncomfortable? And hopefully go on a spiritual search in regards to it. We can't fix everything in the world. We can't even fix everything in our own lives. Of course, we can't change the fact that we're aging, we age and die. But we can remember ourselves and remember the fact that we're one with life as life. And until it's done, it's not done, and that's just to be honest with it. And today we're not able to get into how to undo everything. But this is one thing, one little topic we get to touch on, and that's being a light, meaning you learn to listen to this inner impulses that says, go here, do that, do this. And let's bring it to a spiritual practice. Let's say it's time to inquire. It's time to look at, who is this being? Or it's time or another spiritual pointer might want to come up. That's what happened with me. It guided me. Let it guide you also in your spiritual journey, so you're not so outward leaning. I really, I'm not super fond of the fact that we have 1,000,001 YouTubes out there with spiritual direction. I think that let's say there are some good things about it, but a lot of it will just be more of the outward leaning kind of tendency to want to get nourished from the outside. Like as if by watching all these YouTubes and listening to these people and getting hits of transmission here and there, that's what's going to wake you up or come back to yourself. And in the end, you find something that you like or a couple things and then just stick with it. They say in the old days, dig one well deeply. So dig a well deeply. And it's still really the best spiritual direction out there. And have that well really be in yourself. You dig that one well deeply in yourself. If you now and then need some pointing, absolutely. I did too. But don't let it distract you and imagine that it's not a substitute for you digging one well deeply. And that guidance of opening to your own inner guidance of what's good for you next. It could even be pursuing a personal relationship and learning all about that. It could be being a good family person in the moment. Not that it's has to be singly minded. You can do several things at once, of course. It could be that your heart is really wanting to come on board. And you're wanting to do some, Ho'oponopono prayers to inner reconciliation, embodiment. There's so many places and aspects to the spiritual journey that you have to tune into to know what is the right medicine for you in the moment, the right homeopathic medicine of the spiritual, what's true for you right now. It's not only what's taking place on the outside, but it's your spiritual journey itself needs to be internally guided. And learn how to listen, because it knows what it needs best. I mean, it says go talk to that person, then you do, or that teaching or whatever, but it knows what it needs. Absolutely, 100%. So just because so-and-so teacher that you like, they're awakening or so on, and they're saying inquire, 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 but you're having a hard time. You may be forcing something on yourself. What if your body just wants to be in nature and open up your sensing body to learning how to be one with and feel into the veils that lie between yourself and what's natural in the world, natural environment, and feel into that. There's so many important progression milestones that one needs to go through, spiritually speaking. And it's best if you learn how to listen. And at times you may be in the doldrums. I'll just bring that up before we switch into questions. Just want to say something about the doldrums, meaning, let's say you're a little sailboat with your own little sail. You're not alone in the world. Don't worry about it. But you're with your own little sail and you're in the ocean and you're catching the wind. Yeah? And you're like raising your mast and you're going this way and you're catching a little wind. It's going this way and it's going that way. And you're in tune, you're in sync with the way that this is working, the current and the wind and everything. And then let's say for a while there's no wind. That happens in nature. And so boom, you're just there. Thinking so many things. Bored. You're thinking I'm doing something wrong. You're thinking, how much can I put up with this? I heard you're supposed to trust not knowing. This is the state of not knowing. Yeah? I don't know. It's meant to help you get in touch with and get comfortable with the empty nature of nothing happening. And there's wisdom in that too. Yeah? There's wisdom in, like, I'm paddling. There's nothing happening. I'm not going anywhere. I don't know which way to go. I don't know what to do about this relationship. I don't know if I'm supposed to move. I don't know if what I'm supposed to do spiritually. Not much is happening. Does everybody know that place? Have you experienced that? I hope so. If not, then you're in the doing mode too much. It's the not doing mode. And then a trust can build in this, I don't know what to do, and resting in the unknown. I've gotten just as comfortable in not knowing than knowing. That's where you want to be. And knowing is vital. It's vital to the birth of universes. Those pregnant pauses. So that's also listening, learning how to listen and trust in what's happening. When you don't know, doesn't mean you're doing something wrong and that you're not listening well enough. Doesn't necessarily mean that, okay? It could mean that you're meant to learn how to not be doing any stop. And be stupid for a while. Just be stupid. Happily stupid. Where you're not manufacturing the next thing. Yeah? Just resting in the gap. And fall into the gap and get comfortable there. It means something very, very precious is taking place inside. God in its creation mode and God is in its uncreation mode. Does this make sense? The uncreated, learn to fall in love with the uncreated while you're alive, that you're not anything going anywhere. That helps you empty out. All right. Well, I hope that was useful to you. Did I really just talk for an hour? Okay. Um, I don't know if I should apologize, but so we have a half an hour of questions, and the way I like to do it is I'm not so good with those little hands on the bottom, wherever those hands are. Don't even look at them. Just like if you would be willing to just raise your own hand like this and go hello, okay, and if I, I'll pick somebody and then I'll try to remember who else has raised their hand to do it in order. And if I forget, then I forget. But that's how I prefer doing it, is actually looking around our room here. Okay. And let's see, what else do I like to say before we begin? To yourself, right? Yeah, just stay true to yourself in your sharing, and in your, if you want to dialogue with me, I'm open to that. The other thing is if someone else follows you, we're not. I'm asking people to not be giving advice to other people. Not be saying, this is what I do when this happens. Just let this. If you're affected or touched by something that somebody has said, you can say that I was, this has brought this up for me. Always keep it to for me, for yourself, like me statements rather than regarding anyone else. All right. This way we can preserve our inner integrity. So just for just 30 seconds, just feel into how you're doing. Check in with yourself. There's a lot shared here. And open to how you're feeling, the welcoming of what's taking place inside right now of yourself, with curiosity, with allowance, with heart. And then if there's a breath that wants to come to release, allow that to take place. We know how to reorganize when we let ourselves, just like animals. My dog always shakes after something takes place. It's like clockwork. And then I know she's back. She goes, shake, shake, shake. So let yourself shake. All right. So when you're ready, I'm ready. You can just raise your hand and feel free to bring anything that's coming to you that you feel could be helpful to dialogue with me about. Daniela. So you have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
So lovely to see
you. Yay. Yes, lovely to see you.
So I just wanted to reflect on, what you're talking about in terms of, sensing in yourself, following your own.
Yes.
And yeah, it feels so like people recently have been asking me about plans, what am I planning to do next? And I kind of like, I don't know. I just feel like there's nothing coming at the moment about what's happening next. I'm here where I am in my situation, where I'm living, and it's okay. Um, just trusting that if I need to make plans for the future, they will come.
Yes.
And also noticing that even in terms of contact with my family, as you know, I haven't had that much contact with
Yeah.
recently, and I was happy, happy about this. Um, in my alone time, I've had the prompting of the the emotional prompting to contact my sister, who I haven't had contact with in a long time. Like it's time.
Yeah.
Well, and I felt emotion coming back, like it. and it was just like, oh, that, just it just kind of felt joyous and not yes. And because it gave me something to follow, yes, okay, it's time. It's like it almost felt like something has been held until it's time, and then it's given.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Mhm.
Lovely. It's like a door that opens that's been there and the content's been in that room. Yeah.
I hope, maybe this is where there's a wondering whether she'll see it that way,
Oh,
whether she will understand that. I hope that's part of the timing, the good timing. Um,
yeah.
I mean, I know within myself that it couldn't have been otherwise in terms of the timing because this is when it feels right.
Yeah. It's so amazing how that works. Mhm. Everything gets on board and now's the time. It's
Yeah.
like all these little streamlets come together and come into a little one main stream, and then it's like clear. I understand that feeling. Whether it's the same for the other person, you'll find out. I don't know. It's not always that way. Yeah. It could be like, no, I'm not saying this is the case at all. It could be just the right timing for her too. And you open the door and she's like, "Oh, I'll open my door too." And or the door is already open, let's say. Well, you don't
Mm.
know. You don't know.
A-
Yeah.
and if it's not, then there's still I still had to do it in that timing.
I totally understand that, Daniela. You were being true to you, and anything else would have been a betrayal to that unknowing that to the, following that truth.
In the same way that I understand that, the person who doesn't want to make contact with me right now, you know who that is,
Yeah.
um, that that's not right timing for him and for us.
Yeah.
I kind of understand that too, you know?
Yeah. And you know what's interesting, Daniela? So we're speaking about this. So just the other person it's not, then it really isn't fully synchronized.
Yeah.
It's a one-sided right timing, you know?
Yeah, it has to be
So
that, right?
to be really a two-way real communication, connection, it has to be the right time for both.
Mm.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? Like there could be little pieces that are still lagging behind here and there, but the mainstream has to be open.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Susanna. Good
Beautiful.
to see you.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah. Good to see you too. Okay, anybody else? Is it the right time for you to raise your hand? David Husky, did you want to say something? Oh, I
Yeah.
don't hear you. There you are. Yeah.
Okay. Uh Living by inner light. This is the theme of my life. Beautiful. I say live by the inner light, but occasionally check the map.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, it's like what you were saying about those YouTubes and things. Everything that any guru or any person says might be a pointer, might be it's like a road sign. You look at it. I've been having a beautiful experience the last few days with visit. We've had my wife's sister been visiting, and we live in this amazingly beautiful country in northeastern Pennsylvania. So we've been out seeing all of the beautiful sights, the mountains and the lakes and the rivers and the parks, and I've driven like in the last 3 days 5 miles, a little bit every day and so forth. But it's always been like I've had a general idea where we're going to go and that sort of thing. Check the map, and then just head out. Come to a
Hmm.
corner, and it feels like I should turn left. Go to another corner, and it feels like I should turn right. And then
Hmm.
occasionally check the map. But in general, just But the most beautiful thing about what has been provided in my situation is that the people riding with me uh, were in no way aware of the fact that I wasn't following a map. You know, they were enjoying the scenery just as much as I was. We weren't really saying, well, oh, I'm lost now, because, you know, I love to be lost. But some of the turns that I made just on purely allowing myself to say, oh, let's go this way, have turned out to be the most awesomely beautiful kinds of things, like beaches along the Delaware River, or parks that I hadn't seen, never seen before, lakes and mountains and resort facilities that, wow, just it's like the most beautiful part of the world. And it's lovely to realize that that kind of thing, and everything you've been talking about applies to every area of life. I know a lot of people see it in terms of their spirituality or their relationships or other things that they think, about or concerned about, and that's wonderful, because it does apply to there as well. This sensing and noticing, being an allowance, simply allowing and welcoming. About the only thing I can say about this is the way to live. It's the most
Just do it.
it is the way to live.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely, David. 100%. I love that you live this way. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And that you transmit that.
It's beautiful to hear others beginning to discover it in areas of their life. But that's why I come back. It's just to
Yeah.
be
Oh, I know.
in the presence of those who
You're a
are discussing.
supporter.
Yeah. So good to be
Yeah, you're a
with you.
supporter of the
That's right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you, sweetheart. Good to see you. Okay. Who else? What a lovely group, huh? I'll just throw this in while people are waiting to see if they feel like raising their hand. That as I'm in California right now. I live in New Mexico, and I was driving. I used to live here, and I was driving here. That's a 20-hour drive, right, with my dog, and not all in one day. And I was. I just knew I was supposed to come. I just had this feeling I want to come. I'm going to have it impulse to see my kids and everybody. And it wasn't until 7 hours into the drive that I just got this real, like, beautiful download of why I'm doing this. Like, just like all these tendrils of sensation and feeling and understanding of energetic connections and what I'm doing, and what I'm not mental, but more mind body. I can't, and I understood, like an understanding came in. How about that? Rather than a download, an understanding came in of why I'm doing this. And I didn't need to have that understanding in order to prepare and begin the journey. I just had enough of a impulse to do it, It made nice sense in the sense that I, miss my kids and so on, my grown kids. But really, the real understanding of what this is about and what the connections will bring for others, and what it's like, the filaments of the intelligence of what is wanted in life came in. So I'm just bringing in a little bit of live, something that happened to me just the other day. You don't even know sometimes why you're doing something, and it can still come. Yes, Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, so sort of there's actually two things, and um, so this vibration that I've spoken to you about, um, in terms of direction, very often when I'm reading something or watching, especially reading something, but or watching a video, it's as if all of a sudden that vibration just amplifies like crazy. It's like I'm being sort of, you know, told to look at this more deeply, or to really, really, yeah. Anyways, it's like it's there. And sometimes really strong. The other,
Yeah.
it,
Your way of knowing is through energetic vibration, the signature of truth in your body. It has a
yeah,
vibration.
yeah, and it's like it's really quite, it happens quite often. And the other one that is this has been happening for a very long time, is this. I get a jolt. I get it's like a Kriya kind of thing or whatever. But it's like again, it's sort of like getting somebody elbows you in the ribs and says, look at this or whatever. But there's something I've done weird
Mhm.
with it, and that is that I've sort of moved to try and it's sort of a checking in mechanism to almost seeking guidance, if you wish. And I have to admit, it's been a mixed bag. Some of it has been like just so wonderful, but every once in a while,
Mm.
it's like, meh. And but still, I use it, to be honest with you, and it's still a thing of. It's as simple as making a statement, and 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 if I get a bump, if I get a jolt, I take it as being, a yes kind of thing or whatever. It's really that simple. Um, I don't know, maybe but I don't throw it out of my. I don't throw it out completely, or I don't dismiss. There's still this left brain thing that's still going on, in that whole thing. Um, but more often than not, um, it proves to be great guidance. It's really quite amazing, to be honest with you. And it actually came out of, it started up with that, and quite often happened for a while. And then I just thought, well, okay, let's see if I can sort of talk to this. You know,
Mm.
it's different, I know, but it's sort of a way of inner listening for me.
No, I understand. Other people. That's. I understand. That's the way that it's showing up for you. And for someone else, it could be a sense of um, inner harmony.
Yeah,
Like the guidance can really show up in different kinds of sensation expressions
yeah.
of that you're on track or that this is what you're meant to do.
I have a
Mhm.
friend who her body really tells her so much, like
Hmm.
contractions or whatever, that really has a big effect on her.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because there's the contrast of this is a good thing for you to do, can have a certain sensation or not. It doesn't
Mhm.
always, everybody. It's not like you need proof. But definitely when you're doing something that goes against inner congruence and truth, if you tune into the contraction,
Yes.
which is what I said earlier, your heart might go like this, or your gut, or your throat, even, here. It's all these intelligent centers that live inside that are just saying you're you're out of alignment here. It's not congruent with, extricate yourself or whatever. Yeah, so that I love the truth telling of, serum. It shows up the way it will.
I'm amazed
It-
by the intelligence of all of this, by so many different mechanisms, so many different mechanisms for this.
yeah, yeah, me too. I'm in awe of it. Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. It's really awe producing, and the intelligence of truth and how it wishes to be our guide and guidance system. If we have the wisdom to and desire and trust and courage to listen, and that more you listen, then the more that you up the ante of paying the price when you don't listen.
I
Right?
see, I see so much where it's my left side wants to jump in and to take control of it all or whatever, and so it's sort of an interesting dynamic, if you wish.
Yeah. Yeah, down, lying down, like tame that left side.
Exactly,
It's like it could just be an eager little dog, they're eager, but to be dominant, nah.
Yeah.
It's a I've said this before, it's a false alpha. It's not a real alpha. It's a false alpha. It's not its natural state, state to be the one who wants to be in control, let's say, is false alpha. It's not the
I
real
just
leader, the one that it rules.
I just
Yeah.
get this sense that with more time and more of all of this, that this is now there's a different sense of going back to the movement back away from the left, or this wanting to be in control, and moving to this place of all of that inner intelligence, that much more basic, much more almost with the gift of with birth or whatever kind of thing, that intelligence that is there, and not this stuff that's been built along all the years kind of thing that wants to control everything. Sort of an opening to,
That's beautiful.
you know, just seems that that's what this process seems to be about.
Yes, it totally is, Bob. Coming back home to the natural. I like the word the natural state. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a better word for it, because
It's
it's
making
natural.
it's making more and more sense to me all the time.
I'm happy for you and happy for all those around you that it's making more and more sense for you all the time. We have 5 minutes. My goodness, I should have said 2 hours, right, Sarah? Next time.
Thank you.
Next time.
Thank you, Bob. Mary, do you think you can do it in 3 minutes or less, like that? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
It's great to be here, and I'm just blown away by the topic. About a month ago, Adyashanti suggested that people really work on developing their intuition, and so that inner guidance system. And so I've been working on that and writing and leaning on that more. And I've always had a strong inner voice, but don't always listen to it, right? And so I feel like I'm much more in tune with it. And years and years ago, I wanted other people to tell me what to do. Like when I decided I wanted to I hadn't divorced or not. No one. I had like 10 people that were all involved in my drama, and no one would tell me what to do. And one of the big things was having to let go of my house. And one day I just woke up and this like voice said loud and clear, the next step is letting go of your house. And after that, everything was clear to me. It was just, it was letting go of a dream and all kinds of things. So it was great. And listening to that, completely changed everything. So Thank you for the topic.
Well,
So my archetype
oh,
is
my pleasure.
the hermit. So it's amazing that you're talking about that as well.
Well, maybe it is especially yours for sure, but everybody who's on a spiritual journey of serious spiritual journey, that's one of their archetypes is the hermit, because you do this alone and you're meant to go internally so that you found, I love that, aloneness, all oneness, you go through your aloneness to find your all oneness, all aloneness, all oneness, whatever. So you tap into that which is part of what is one with the whole by going into your aloneness with willingness. And thank you. And I look forward to seeing you next Sunday, everybody. I'll be with Open Circle in Sebastopol in person. If anyone is in that area, I'd love to see you on Sunday the July 2nd from 2 to 5, whoever wants to come in person. Well, so thank you. It's been great. I mean, really, I hope it's good for you. I hope that you got something out of this. I appreciate Open Circle inviting me to be here with a recording, and I just think it's a great journey that we're on. Just a wonderful, wonderful journey. And wherever you are on the journey, enjoy it. That's all I can say, because you never get it back. You never get that what we've been on it back, and it's such an incredible waking up to yourself is such a beautiful journey, even if it doesn't always feel like it. So everybody unmute yourself so we can say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Lovely to be
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.